I'm life and business coach Samantha Sifring, and this is the Online Business Building Mamas podcast, where you learn how to build a wildly successful business from home while raising kids. Welcome to another episode of the Badass Mother podcast. Okay, before we get into today's episode, I wanted to ask all of you a huge favor if you listen on Apple Podcasts. If you would please hop over there and scroll down, there is a place to leave a rating and review, and I would love so much if you would spend a little bit of time doing a review for me. So I'm going to start sharing reviews as I get them and giving you little shout outs on here. I went back into the reviews that I currently have and I loved this one. So I'm giving Julie a little shout out. Her name is here. She said, "Perfect. Loving this podcast. It has such relevant, actionable information. It's like she has looked into my brain and created episodes based on what I want and need to know. Highly recommend." I love that. I hear that about my content all the time. Like people feel like I'm just reading their mind. And it's something that I love to teach my clients how to do, to create content from that space. So I would appreciate it so much if you would take a little time to do a quick review with your thoughts, and I will share it on the podcast. All right. Welcome to part 2 of my series on traits of my most successful clients. I spend a lot of time thinking about my clients, where they're getting stuck, where they still want to go, and how we can get them there faster. I also spend a lot of time thinking about my best clients. This is a phrase that I use all the time. And I want to be clear that this is not necessarily a list of specific clients, but actually a list of traits that I look for in my potential clients that will indicate to me that they will get results while we work together, and like really good results, and also that I'm going to love working with them. So these are just some things that I pay attention for. I look for women who are tough and have grit, who are coachable, inspired, passionate about what they do, have a big vision, are ambitious, have a sense of humor, and who like to have fun. I feel like this is the perfect little cocktail of personality traits that I really look for in the women that I talk to and the women who apply to work with me. So this series came as a product of both of these exercises, thinking about my current clients and thinking about this idea of my best clients. So reflecting on my clients who are really killing it right now and how I can inspire the ones who are still on their way there, and also attracting in the clients who are going to start working with me in 2020. I strongly recommend that you all spend time reflecting on your clients, current clients, and future clients. This way, regularly, I promise you it will shift who you are as a business owner and as a marketer, and how you show up for your current clients, all in all of the very best possible ways. This is for sure how I come up with the content that you feel is reading your mind and inside of your mind. It's because we're pretty much all the same. I feel like this is the big secret that I learned about people and the universe when I became a life coach. That every single woman I've ever worked with has the same thoughts, the same fears, the same doubts, the same struggles. And they take different forms for sure. But I feel like we all kind of have this idea that we are flawed in a way that no one else is, and we struggle with things that no one else does. And what I find interesting after now almost 5 years as a coach, getting to look directly in women's brains almost every day, I can report we are all the same. We are not all that different. Our brains are not all that creative. And we really aren't alone in the things that we struggle with. And sometimes I forget that not everybody knows this. And I remember what a revelation it was when I started as a coach and realized this truth. So I just want to share with you that that is true. Okay, part 2. This is all about a feeling today. The feeling of commitment. My most successful clients are committed. They have a vision and a purpose for what they're doing. They've decided that making it happen is a non-negotiable for them. And they believe that they're in control of if they achieve it or not. This is everything, believing that you are in control of achieving your goals and the results that you create. This changed everything for me in my business, and it really allowed me to play with commitment and confidence in my business in such a different way. I think commitment is probably the number one determining factor of success among entrepreneurs. Everybody builds a business, hits their goals, and makes the money that they want to make at their own pace. But the ones who are committed eventually do it, even if it takes longer than they hoped. They stick with the work until they nail it. And without commitment, you're going to quit when things get hard. You're going to let your doubts talk you out of continuing to go forward. I notice this a lot in my clients. I notice a lot of people come to me after multiple attempts to grow their business, and they've gotten on to themselves. They've noticed this pattern that they get frustrated or discouraged. Their commitment flies out the window. They distract themselves with something else. They take a break from their business. They make a pivot in their business, whatever it is. They stop continuing to move forward in the same direction. They either completely stop or they pivot into a completely different direction without keeping the momentum, even a little bit of momentum and lessons that they've already gained. Most of us start off building businesses thinking that excitement, inspiration, and motivation will be the fuel. These emotions are flaky. I always say these emotions are flaky friends. They're never there when you need them. As soon as things get tough, as soon as the roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship takes a dip, fear comes in and these light, happy emotions are nowhere to be found. Commitment is one of the best emotions to fuel your business. Commitment is one of those rare emotions that is stronger than fear, and it can help you to take action despite the fear that you might be experiencing. It allows us to be courageous and act like our future self, even when fear is there. I remember hearing once that courage is not the absence of fear, it's taking action even with fear being there. I'm sure this quote has been butchered by me right now, but that general idea that being courageous, being brave, doesn't mean you don't have fear. It means that you're not letting the fear drive. You're not letting the fear control you. You are willing to feel the fear and take the action that you plan to take. My most successful clients are committed to the what of their goal, not the how. They know that they're going to figure out the how by crafting informed strategies, by testing them, failing, tweaking, and continuing to hone and test until they master the how. They're committed to evaluation and to continual growth. I had a client recently who was like, I just don't know which one of these is the right way. And I asked her, how are you going to find out? And I think that she wanted me to tell her which one was the right one. And I can't do that because I haven't built her business before. I'm always happy to say, based on my expertise, this is what I think is going to work the best. But ultimately, we have to test it because it's dependent on so many more things besides industry best practices. It's based on your clients. It's based on you. It's based on so many different things that you really have to be committed to achieving your goal and knowing that through that commitment to your goal, you will find your how. Committed means I'm going to figure this out no matter what. When I was building my business to 100,000, I used commitment as the fuel to step out of my comfort zone, to be consistent, and ultimately to hit 6 figures. Anytime I felt doubt, fear, uncertainty, frustration, I reminded myself I am going to figure this out no matter what. It was the fuel that helped me to keep going to my goals and make them happen. It was such a powerful thought. And I really encourage any of you who are newer to your business to really attach yourself to that thought. Committed means consistent, massive action. Over the past 2 years, I've done over 250 consult calls with potential clients. Most of them said no. I kept doing what it took to get calls on my calendar, and I kept honing my sales skills, and I was willing to fail hundreds of times and learn from every single failure along the way. I really mastered how to get people to say yes to me to get on a call with me, and I have an episode about how to get discovery calls if you want to hear more about my thoughts about that. And then once I was getting all those calls, I really had to learn how to sell. And I worked on those skills with a coach, even though I had door-to-door sales experience prior. It's different selling coaching online. Apparently, that is what I learned. But I think anything that you're selling, there's kind of your way to sell it that you find. So it's partially learning just the general best practices of sales, and it's partially testing it out and honing it so you really find your way and it becomes second nature. And for so many of you, it's about getting over yourself and a lot of the thoughts that you have about sales, about selling, about receiving money for your work, and all of those kinds of things. And I think really the biggest piece here is willing to fail and willing to feel all the feelings that come with failure, and willing to do all of this without judging yourself and beating yourself up. I feel like that's the secret sauce that most of you need to add to your business. Committed also means even when. One of the biggest lessons that I have learned from my coach in the past couple months has been this. It's easy to feel commitment, belief, and inspiration when things are going really well, when you're hitting your goals, when you have a ton of consult calls on the calendar. But can you stay with your commitment and your belief even when? Even when a client is unhappy? Even when you don't have calls on the calendar, even when someone you thought would for sure say yes says no. This is so important. So many of us base our belief on the evidence we think is there. And if we really dug into that evidence, it's pretty shaky, right? Like it's all just thoughts. We think the thoughts and the belief is there because of the circumstances, but we can have those thoughts and those beliefs there no matter what, even when. And it's a much more powerful position to be in when you can create that belief, even when. Something I ask myself almost every day is this: on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not at all, and 10 being it is done, how committed am I to my goal? Sometimes I'm rating my commitment to my monthly revenue goal or my annual revenue goal or something else. But it's always a good gauge to see where I am, what tricky thoughts are currently holding me back from being all in. Those always show up when I have to rate on a scale of 1 to 10 and then ask myself why. And then I use it to turn things around and get me back into full commitment. I'll ask myself why I picked that number and then what I need to be thinking to be at a 10. These thoughts are often the same exact ones that I used in the exercise last week about future self. Again, just like last week, the important thing is that you actually experience an emotional shift in how you're feeling in your body. That is so much more important than writing down the right thoughts or pretending to be a 10. Sometimes you have to sit there and keep writing until you really feel all the way at a 10. Otherwise, what's the point? If it's not actually going to cause a shift in you, it is a waste of time. All right, mamas, spend the next week really tapping into commitment, really being curious about how committed you are to your goal, and really being curious about why you picked that number, and experimenting with what it feels like and what you have to think and what you do when you are at full commitment, 10 out of 10. Next week, we're going to be talking about the next success trait. But in the meantime, join me over at Online Business Building Mamas if you haven't already. It is my incredible community on Facebook where I am active every single day. You can join by going to bit.ly/joinmama, bit.ly/joinmama. If you like this podcast, I want to invite you to coach with me over in my program, Mama to CEO. There's you, and there's the consistent income you want to make in your business, and I help you remove everything standing in between. It's lifetime access for mastering your marketing, sales, time, and everything else you need to have the business and life you really want. Whether it's making your first 1,000 or 100,000, I can help you do it. To join, go to mamatoceo.com, mamatoceo.com.